Tale of Two Hygienists presents this week's TIPisode. Quick and easy tips to keep you up to date and presented by the experts in the profession. Now, get ready for your unofficial TIPisode. This week brought to you by GC America.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's TIPisode. My name is Andrew Johnston, and I am so happy to be able to present to you on behalf of GC America. The question for this week's TIPisode is, are lunch and learns a waste of time? For those of you who do not know what these are, lunch and learns are simply opportunities for representatives of various companies to come into your office and teach you about their products or their instruments and maybe how to use them and how to implement them in your daily lives. They're usually accompanied by lunch, which is where that little name comes from, but they can also be maybe a breakfast, because if you have a schedule that works through lunch, or a light dinner, depending on the company and the rep. Any office can request these. They're not just for the big corporate offices. They're not for offices like in the fancy part of town, and they're especially open for offices that are not currently using the product, but maybe could be using it in the future, and they want to know more about it and how it would replace something that they already have. So I am sure you already know the answer to the question, but for the sake of clarity, no, lunch and learns are not a waste of time. With the caveat, though, that they have to be executed properly. So I wanted to talk to you today about some tips and tricks to make sure that your lunch and learn is worth it. So first of all, you have to be prepared. I asked one of my favorite people over at GC, Belinda. She's someone that helps me directly with my job. I asked her to help me understand what is expected of them every time that they go into the office. And I will tell you that as much as I'm going to be telling you how to be prepared, they're even more so. She sent me a whole list of things they do to prepare for each office individually, from arriving early and the equipment that they need to make sure is working properly, and also to creating a conversation, not a lecture. They learn about the office and the providers and find out how can they really help them. And yes, they are in this because it's a job, but they do the job because they love helping people be healthier. Now, for all of you, though, there are surprisingly several things that you can do to prepare to make this lunch and learn even better. So one of the primary things to do is to make sure that the schedule is clear, and I cannot stress that enough. All of our dental software systems, no matter what office you're in, they all have the capability to put a block on the schedule. So utilizing this block for the scheduled time will ensure that there will not be any patients in the chair. It is also important to extend this block all the way across all of the columns, or books if you call them books. So from doctor all the way over to hygiene to specialty if you have that in your office. Also, cross-check the vacation logs to make sure that everyone's going to be there that day. That is another big thing that I've seen accidentally happen and then had to be rescheduled since half the team was gone that day. So on your end, again, make sure that you confirm the time and the date with the company representative a few days in advance, so that if something did come up, you could unblock those schedules and see more patients to make sure that we're not wasting any of the time. Do some research ahead of time on the company and find out what products from them that you specifically want to learn about. And if you could, if you felt that it was necessary, I think it's a great idea if you could also send this information to them ahead of time, because they usually have these presentations for different products or tools or technologies. It's really important that they're prepared to bring the appropriate one. Also, they give samples out oftentimes, or they at least do demonstrations. And so if they don't have that product in their bag for that day, then you won't get the things that you want to see. So as the rep arrives, be sure to put the phones for the front office on forward to the voicemail. Make sure you're turning down the music, making sure you're just aligning the chairs maybe properly so everyone can sit and eat and pay attention all at the same time. You want to really make sure that there's no distractions. Be sure that the front office and the back office are also a part of these meetings, because if you think about it, how many times does the patient go to the front and ask the exact same question that we literally just answered for them 30 seconds ago? And they go to the front and they say, why do I need this again? Or maybe someone from the front will answer the phone with a patient on the other end, and the patient's asking them about maybe treatment or products. So if the front office isn't on the same page from an educational standpoint as the back office, then there's a real good chance that the patient will not get the care that they need or deserve. So we all need to be saying the same things in the same manner so the patients will understand and trust us. Now, during the meeting, I can't say this enough, pay attention. Try to avoid, look, I mean, I've been guilty of this several times, but you have to try to avoid sitting next to your office bestie, because you're going to be tempted to chit chat the whole entire time. Also, making sure that you're leaving your phones in the other room. It's not enough that your phones are on silent. They need to be in the other room. Also, during the meeting, it's really appropriate to ask questions, maybe not necessarily during the meat of the conversation, unless they're asking for that specifically. but it's okay to ask a lot of questions. Be professional, but I love it. And maybe this is just a me thing, but I love being a little bit blunt about it. And if they say a statement or something that just doesn't make sense to me, then there's nothing wrong with asking a clarifying question. Like, what did you mean by that? We do it this way, so I don't understand the term that you use, or any of those types of things. But one of my favorite questions to ask is, how will this be better for my patient than what we're currently using? I don't feel like it's putting them on the spot at all. In fact, from the people that I've spoken with, they actually love that question because that really simplifies their whole entire message down to a quick couple of statements. It also tells them that you are in it for your patient. And that's really what you should be doing when you're doing these product evaluations. Now, after the meeting, there's a couple other things that need to happen. One, you need to schedule, believe it or not, a follow-up. A lot of times I feel like we think that once we've had the lunch and learn, we're done. But if we can get that person to come back and follow up and maybe review how we've implemented the things, or review how we're feeling about certain things, maybe they need to do another discussion before we actually implement the tools or the products or the technologies into our practice. But if you do that now, then it also helps you as a clinician be motivated to actually put those things into practice. Another thing that I find very helpful, and again, going back to my friend Belinda, this is something that she is well known for, and all the people at GC do it. When I have my team has scheduled a lunch and learn, they also are trying to schedule a time with a patient that they know is going to have maybe sealants done. And she will sit right next to them and assist them in placing the sealant with a new product that they haven't used before, or doing whatever she can chair side with our clinicians so that they truly understand the workflow part of it. And I can't say how impressive that is. So don't be afraid to ask for that help if you think that's going to be in your best interest. And can I just say one thing that's a little bit out of left field? And one of the reasons as a clinician that I like to lunch and learn so much, it broke up the monotony that sometimes happens, like every single day of every single week is the same. You go into work, you see patients, you take a lunch, you see patients, you go home. It felt like everything, like every day was the same. Same team, same room that I worked out of. And while we had a great time as a team, it was always nice to be, treated every once in a while to a good meal and some education. So if we could schedule, and I recommend this for you as well, schedule a lunch and learn at least once a month, probably not more than once a month, but probably, once a month with different companies. I think that would be really awesome for you and the rest of your team members. But let's get back on track. So the purpose for the reps coming into the offices should be aligned with your purpose as an office and as a clinician, which should be improving patient care. And it's been my experience with GC that they truly believe and love the products and the tools that they're teaching us about. They care about my teams being successful. And we have metrics that we monitor. They ask about the metrics. They ask how they can align their presentations. They can align what they're doing with what we're monitoring. They work with me on a case-by-case basis to make sure that everyone's happy and also that we're all rowing in the same direction. So do me a favor, check out the show notes and click on the URL to schedule a lunch and learn with GC. And once you have them, you're never going to go back to not having lunch and learns. Hopefully this was really helpful information. Hopefully you understand what is the next level of lunch and learns. It's not just about sitting there and enduring a presentation. It's not that. There's so much more that you can get out of it. But if you do a couple of these little tips, that's really going to push you guys to the next level as an office. And like always, if you have any questions at all, drop me an email, andrew@atela2hygienist.com, and have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks for listening to another TIPisode, and thank you to GC America for sponsoring this week's episode. You can find out more about their great products at gcamerica.com. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button in your podcast app. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram, and head over to our website, atela2hygienist.com, to sign up for our newsletter. And we always appreciate ratings and reviews. Thanks again for listening to your unofficial dental hygiene podcast.